Every time you pull up to a modern gas pump, you are pumping alcohol directly into your fuel tank. Most standard petrol today contains at least 10% ethanol, with newer E20 blends pushing that ratio even higher. It seems harmless at the pump, but inside your fuel system, a slow chemical reaction begins instantly. Gasoline is a mixture of nonpolar hydrocarbons derived from crude oil. Ethanol, on the other hand, is ethyl alcohol, a polar solvent made from fermented plant starches. Because their chemical structures are fundamentally different, forcing them to mix requires specific manufacturing conditions, and keeping them mixed inside your car is a constant battle against physics. The biggest weakness of ethanol is that it is highly hygroscopic. This means it actively pulls water vapor directly out of the ambient air. Air enters your car's fuel tank through the evaporative vent system, bringing invisible moisture along with it that the ethanol immediately absorbs. At first, the ethanol holds this absorbed water in suspension within the petrol. But your fuel can only hold a fraction of a percent of water before reaching saturation. Once that atmospheric moisture threshold is crossed, the chemical bonds holding the mixture together break apart completely. This catastrophic breakdown is known as phase separation. The ethanol binds with the heavy water molecules and separates from the lighter gasoline hydrocarbons. Because the water-ethanol mixture is denser than pure gasoline, it sinks directly to the absolute bottom of your fuel tank. This creates two distinct, unmixed layers inside your tank. The top layer is now stripped of its ethanol, dropping its octane rating well below what your engine requires. Meanwhile, the bottom layer sitting right at your fuel pump pickup screen is a highly concentrated pool of water and alcohol. When you turn the key, your fuel pump picks up that bottom layer first. Pumping concentrated ethanol and water into your combustion chamber starves the engine of proper fuel, causing violent misfires, hard starting, and severe lean burn conditions that spike cylinder temperatures instantly. If the fuel pump picks up the top layer instead, the severely reduced octane level causes destructive engine knocking. Under heavy acceleration, this premature detonation creates extreme pressure waves that can shatter piston rings, burn spark plug electrodes, and puncture engine block walls in seconds. Beyond phase separation, ethanol is a powerful industrial solvent. Older automotive fuel systems relied on standard nitro rubber fuel lines, fuel pump diaphragms, and carburetor seals. Ethanol attacks the chemical bonds of these elastomers, causing them to swell, soften, and slowly dissolve from within. As these rubber lines degrade internally, small black flakes peel away into the fuel stream. These microscopic particles travel down the line and lodge themselves directly inside delicate fuel injectors and high-pressure fuel pumps, choking off fuel delivery and triggering permanent system failures. Metal components suffer equally severe damage when exposed to ethanol blends. Aluminum fuel system parts, especially older cast aluminum carburetor bodies, react aggressively with the acidic byproducts formed when ethanol degrades over time. This chemical reaction corrodes the bare metal, turning polished passages into pitted surfaces. This aluminum corrosion forms a powdery white crust known as aluminum hydrate. This chalky residue builds up inside tiny carburetor jets, fuel rails, and pressure regulators, completely blocking the calibrated fuel metering passages and starving your engine of vital fuel flow. Modern gasoline direct injection systems operate under extreme hydraulic pressures exceeding 2,000 pounds per square inch. The mechanical fuel pumps in these systems rely entirely on the natural lubricating properties of pure gasoline to keep their internal steel plungers running smoothly. Ethanol lacks the natural viscosity and lubricity of petroleum hydrocarbons. Running high ethanol blends increases mechanical friction inside these high-pressure pumps, causing the metal internal surfaces to scuff, overheat, and throw microfine metallic debris straight into your expensive fuel injectors. Your fuel injectors rely on electromagnetic solenoids to open and close thousands of times per minute. When ethanol oxidizes inside the injector body, it leaves behind sticky varnish and gum deposits that bind these tight-tolerance internal pintles, ruining the finely atomized spray pattern. Steel fuel tanks are particularly vulnerable to phase-separated fuel. The water-ethanol mixture resting at the bottom of the tank strips away protective internal coatings, exposing raw steel directly to water and atmospheric oxygen, initiating heavy rust formation across the tank floor. Small engines found in lawnmowers, generators, and classic cars suffer the highest failure rates from ethanol fuel. Unlike modern daily drivers, these engines sit unused for weeks at a time with vented fuel systems, allowing rapid moisture absorption and accelerated fuel degradation. Modern flex-fuel vehicles avoid these failures because their entire fuel delivery network is engineered for alcohol. Manufacturers install stainless steel lines, fluorosilicone seals, and specialized plastic fuel tanks designed specifically to resist chemical solvent attack and acidic oxidation. Flex-fuel engines also utilize a dedicated fuel composition sensor placed inline with the supply rail. This sensor constantly measures the electrical conductivity and dielectric constant of the incoming liquid, instantly telling the engine control unit exactly how much ethanol is present in the mixture. When the ECU detects high ethanol concentrations, it instantly advances spark timing and increases injector pulse width. Because ethanol contains roughly 30% less energy per gallon than pure gasoline, the engine must inject significantly more fuel to maintain the correct stoichiometric air-fuel ratio. Standard non-flex fuel cars lack these wide-range adjustment capabilities. When forced to burn high ethanol blends like E20 without factory tuning, they run perpetually lean, generating excessive exhaust gas heat that can melt catalytic converters and burn exhaust valves over prolonged highway driving. The shelf life of ethanol-blended petrol is shockingly short compared to pure gasoline. While straight gasoline remains stable for up to 6 months, standard E10 fuel begins degrading and absorbing dangerous levels of atmospheric moisture in as little as 30 to 45 days. As ethanol continues to sit exposed to oxygen inside your fuel tank, it undergoes chemical oxidation. This process converts the ethyl alcohol into organic acids, primarily acetic acid, the primary active component found in household vinegar. This acidic fuel actively attacks brass fittings, copper washers, and zinc plating throughout the fuel rail. The dissolved metal ions then travel into the combustion chamber, where they accelerate carbon buildup on intake valves and cause premature piston ring wear. Preventing ethanol damage requires a proactive protection strategy. The most effective defense for seasonal vehicles or classic cars is using non-ethanol petrol, often labeled as E0, which completely eliminates phase separation and solvent degradation risks from your fuel system. If pure gasoline is unavailable, adding a high-quality fuel stabilizer containing chemical antioxidants and corrosion inhibitors stops oxidation in its tracks. These additives form a protective polar layer over internal metal surfaces and prevent ethanol molecules from bonding with water. For older vehicles running modern pump gas, replacing legacy rubber fuel lines with high-specification synthetic hoses is mandatory. Upgrading to SAE J30R9 rated fuel line ensures the inner barrier tube withstands aggressive ethanol solvents without softening or shedding particles. Understanding the hidden chemistry of ethanol-blended petrol is the difference between a reliable engine and an expensive fuel system rebuild. By managing fuel freshness, using proper additives, and upgrading vulnerable materials, you keep your engine running smoothly on modern fuel.